This is the Ambition and Life podcast, where we challenge the status quo, rethink leadership and reimagine work for the world we actually live in. I'm your host, Karis Dorrigan, product leader, solo parent and advocate for systems that work better for everyone. Each episode, you'll hear real stories and practical strategies from leaders, parents and changemakers, building a future where ambition and care can thrive together, because the future of work is flexible, human and values-led. And it starts right here. Today, I want to start with my story and my why this podcast exists, why it matters, and why I believe that when we share stories, we don't just connect, we have the power to shift systems. I've spent the last 20 years building digital products, leading high-performing teams and driving customer-centered growth across some of Australia's biggest brands and boldest disruptors. From Fairfax and Yahoo to Qantas, Big Red Group and now Freely. I've worked across the full arc of businesses, from billion-dollar enterprises to early-stage scale-ups. At Qantas, I led a team of 70 across mobile innovation and digital capability, a $3 billion digital portfolio. Reimagined the mobile ecosystem and shifted the culture from feature-first to outcome-led, from waterfall to product-led agile teams that put the customer at the heart of innovation. I oversaw the launch of their first voice experience when Alexa hit the market in Australia and launched international check-in via the app. Before that was the norm. Now at Freely, I've helped lead the business to profitable growth in just a few years. I built the product and design team. I've been part of executive decision-making and embedded product strategy into the P&L. I've brought to life a new kind of travel insurance, one that's customer-first, loyalty-driven, and values-led. What lights me up across all of my experience is creating teams that thrive and systems that scale. I bridge the gap between customer centricity and business outcomes. And I know how to build things that last because I've done it again and again. But even with all of that, the titles, the teams, the outcomes, when I became a solo parent, I realized something confronting. The systems that helped build for others hadn't been built for someone like me. It is a story I'm sharing because behind every individual is humanity, adversity, sitting right alongside joy and success. I've always been called strong, and for a long time I really resented that because it didn't feel like a choice. It felt like survival. It felt like everything always landed on me. But my story is one of strength, also one of resilience, love, heartbreak, and deep clarity. I became a mum in 2019. Evie was born during the Sydney bushfires, and we spent those first months inside, the smoke in the air, and a big dose of parent anxiety. Then COVID hit and the world shut down. But honestly, the real storm was at home. When I was overdue to give birth, I dropped my partner at hospital. He was battling addiction and needed support. I was heavily pregnant, preparing to welcome life into this world and navigating so much, largely behind closed doors. When I was leaving the clinic, I had to take an urgent call from my then boss. I vividly recall sitting on the side of the road of the hospital, overdue, dealing with personal trauma and expected to make room for this call, a call about a restructure just weeks into my parental leave. The actual call is a blur, but the message was clear. Your role has dramatically changed, but you do have a role. From memory, that new role did not light my fire, and it took a lot of responsibility and accountability from my existing position, but I was not in a position to negotiate, a story far too common when parents take parental leave. Evie's first week at home was just me. My best friend stayed that first night, and after that I figured it out alone. Her father passed away in 2022. In 2023, I welcomed Bodhi. He arrived early, just 2 kilos. He spent 5 weeks in hospital, another initiation. This time, while I was solo, I was more prepared. But due to being the sole financial provider, I had to return to work when Bodhi was just 5 months old, still navigating a big role, 2 kids under 5, solo, now a 2-hour commute each way from the office and pumping quietly between meetings. However, with this return, I did have more confidence, more clarity on my needs. And as my kids grow and I have space for more reflection, a reckoning is simmering inside. This experience has deeply changed how I see everything, especially the systems we work in. Let's look at the data and why this matters so deeply. In 2024, one-parent households make up 16% of all families in Australia. But when you look at families with dependents, the impact becomes clearer. Nearly 1 in 4 solo parents had no employed parent. That compares to just 3% of coupled families. If we look at the gender pay gap, it still sits at 21.7%, meaning women are still earning significantly less than their male counterparts. Layer in mental health, 1 in 5 Australians will experience a diagnosed mental health disorder in the last 12 months, and over 40% will have experienced something like this at one point in their lives. Now let's take a moment to look at the systems we operate in. Work runs 9 to 5 or later, school finishes at 3, daycare stretches to 6 if you're lucky. Let's add commuting, sick days, global time zones, and tell me how this system makes space for life. As I throw out parental guilt, get clear on my career and my life needs, the message that demonstrates there is limited space for you in corporate Australia gets clearer. When you're left off an important meeting because it is the same time that you need to put dinner on for the kids, when global training is scheduled outside of normal work hours and you're told to negotiate with your partner, assuming that you have one, or when you're approached for senior roles for companies that advocate for flexibility, but when asked for this level, different work patterns are not accepted. All those messages say, you don't belong here, you can't thrive here, you can't grow as a leader. And yet, the world is changing. AI is transforming work at scale. Organizations are designing teams with AI and humans, yet the opportunity for meaningful leadership roles on different rhythms that mold to life stages is often unavailable. We have an opportunity not just to optimize work, but to redesign it, to build systems that actually reflect real lives, where success isn't measured by presenteeism, but by impact, where work rhythms do not determine leadership opportunity, they are shaped to create leadership opportunity. This podcast was born out of that gap, out of the belief that ambition and life can coexist, that together we can change the narrative and shift the system. It's a space for real stories. It's about showcasing what's possible, not what's expected, and holding space for people doing it differently. Every fortnight you'll hear lived experiences from solo parents, leaders, founders and culture makers, brave thinking from people shifting how we build, lead and care, and practical tools for anyone designing life, leadership or work that actually works. Some weeks you'll just have me sharing what I'm learning, leading through or figuring out. Other weeks I'll be joined by guests I deeply admire, people who lead with heart, intention and courage. So if you're trying to grow a big career and show up for the people that matter to you or for life outside work, this is for you. If you're navigating leadership with messy hands and a fierce heart, you're in the right place. If you believe we can design a better way where we don't have to choose between care and impact, I'm so glad you're here. Let's question what's broken. Let's build what's next. Let's design a future where we all get to thrive. Thanks for joining me on the Ambition and Life podcast. If today's conversation resonated, please follow, rate, or share it with someone charting their own path. If there's a conversation we need to have or a voice we need to hear, get in touch. Because none of us should have to choose between ambition and life. And when we share stories, we shape systems. Until next time, stay courageous, stay intentional, and keep designing a life that honours your ambition and your humanity.